morning, friends. So every Tuesdays are meant to study something about plants or animals, isn't it? Now the month is going on like that. Every Tuesdays we have either about plant biology or about animal biology. So I think you are following the things from your response in group. Also, I'm getting the same response or feedback. That is, you are serious about the studies, and in between class, you people are chatting. That we can see here. So kindly stop that also. If it is anything genuine, you can. No need of unnecessary chats in between the class. Okay. So I think last class we were discussing something about transpiration, about the definition of transpiration, which are what are the experiment setup, how we can demonstrate the process of transpiration, all those. Yes. So you got an idea. I think you might have went through the textbook also. Cobalt chloride paper, that experiment you have seen. Then port covered with a transparent paper that you have seen. So all those we have discussed in the last class, and we stopped on different types of transpiration. So we saw the three types of transpiration we discussed last day. That is lenticular transpiration, cuticular transpiration, and stomatal transpiration. So about the stomatal transpiration, I told you we'll see later in the coming classes. We'll see in detail about the stomatal transpiration. So I think you are ready to study something on stomatal transpiration. So we'll start now about the mechanism of stomatal transpiration. So what is stomatal transpiration? Just transpiration which takes place through stomata part of leaf. That process you call it as stomatal transpiration. So what do you mean by stomata? Before moving to stomatal transpiration, we should know about what is stomata, where you see stomata. Although I think you studied from lower grade, from third grade onwards, you are studying what is stomata, what is transpiration, all those things, isn't it? So anyway, just we'll see about the structure of stomata, and also we'll see about where stomata can be seen on a leaf. So if you take a leaf and if you take a section of that leaf and observe it under a microscope, you can see there are various parts for a typical leaf. So you can see this diagram also. This is the structure of a typical leaf while you see the thing under microscope. In your textbook, you can see in page number 58, you have a diagram there, green color diagram, which shows the section of a leaf. So the thing I think. So now listen here, I'll just tell you about the parts of a leaf. So the outermost part, if you observe the section of a leaf under a microscope, you see the outermost part, that is called the upper epidermis. This part, you call it as upper epidermis. This one. Sorry. This part. This is called the upper epidermis, the first part, that is called the upper epidermis. Then just above the epidermis, we have a single layer which you call it as cuticle part. Okay, so this is the cuticle. Here comes the upper epidermis. Then just below the upper epidermis, we have a kind of parenchyma cells which are very closely packed without any intercellular space, without any space in between. Such type of cells, you call it as palisade mesophyll cells. So those cells which are seen just below the upper epidermis without any intercellular space, they are very closely packed without any intercellular space. Such type of cells you call it as palisade mesophyll cells. Then comes a free space here. Intercellular space will be there here. In between those space, you can see certain cells with lot of intercellular space. Such type of cells you call it as spongy mesophyll cells. Spongy mesophyll cells. So these are all the cells which contain chloroplast. Okay, here the dot is represent here. It is chloroplast only. Actually, I should draw the thing with a green pen. I didn't get it. That's what I have drawn it with a black. So in your textbook, you can see it is greenish in color. That means those cells has got chlorophyll pigments inside. That is greenish color. So those cells which are seen just below the epidermis without any intercellular space, you call it as palisade mesophyll cells. And those cells which are seen below the palisade cells with a lot of intercellular space, you call it as spongy mesophyll cells. Then comes the next part, that is the lower epidermis. So upper epidermis we have, then comes the lower epidermis, and again in the lower epidermis region, in between these epidermis cells, you have the structure, a kidney-shaped structure, which you call it as the stomata. Kidney-shaped structure, only you have studied about the structure of stomata, or in detail we will see now. So this is the stomata, which is kidney-shaped cell, and the opening of the stomata, you call it as stoma. Opening of stomata towards outside, we call it as stoma. So that's all about the structure, internal structure of a typical leaf. So the outermost cell, you call it as upper epidermis. Then one more layer we have above this upper epidermis, that is called the cuticle layer. Below this upper epidermis, you have a layer without any intercellular space. That layer you call it as palisade mesophyll layer. And again inside this we have certain cells with lot of intercellular space, which we call it as spongy mesophyll cells. And in this region, you can see in this intercellular region itself, you can see certain xylem cells also join. Xylem cells which carry water from the stem also joins towards here through some veins. Okay, that we'll see later. Then comes the lowermost epidermis, and in between this lower epidermis, you have certain stomata also, which helps in the process of transpiration. So why we studied about the structure of this leaf? What's the purpose of that? While you study about transpiration, you know that water is carried from soil towards a leaf through the xylem cells, and from the leaves it is given out. That process is called as transpiration. So how it is carried? How it is carried from root towards a leaf, and how it is carried to outside, all those things should be familiar. So for that only we are just going through the internal structure of leaf also. Okay, so now we'll see how water get transported from soil towards the stomata. So first of all, we can see that groundwater, which is absorbed by certain roots. It will be carried by roots of plants. Absorption by a root, you studied last chapter, isn't it? By what? By means of active transport or by means of endoosmosis, water will be carried from soil towards a root, and from root it will be carried to the next tissue, that is called the xylem, which is just like elongated tubes arranged one above the other. So through xylem it reaches towards the leaf, and all these process of carrying water from xylem cells towards the leaf through small veins towards the leaf, it occurs by means of a force, that is by means of imbibition. Okay, then from leaves it will be carried towards so in leaves here I told you there will be a xylem cell here. So from the tree it has reached towards the leaf, and it is carried by certain xylem cells, and through small veins this water will be carried from the xylem cell. It will be carried towards this mesophyll cell, especially towards this spongy mesophyll cells. Then from the spongy mesophyll cell it will be carried towards this intercellular space. So it moves to all these directions. Okay, it moves to all these regions, and here from this it will be carried towards this free intercellular region, and from this intercellular space it will be carried to the next region, that is here, that is called as the substomatal space. This free space seen just above the stomata, we call it as substomatal space. This is called the substomatal space. So the water which is carried by xylem cells, it is carried towards the spongy mesophyll cells. From the spongy mesophyll cell it reaches the intercellular space. From the intercellular space it is carried towards the substomatal space, and from the substomatal space it is carried in the form of water towards outside. This is a pathway through which water is carried from xylem cells through the leaves to outside. Got the pathway? Arrange the following in correct logical sequence. Certain terms will be given to you in bracket: pathway of water. That's a common question seen here. So what you will write, water when it is carried from soil water will be carried by root from root it will be carried by xylem. From xylem it will be carried towards the spongy mesophyll cells. From there it will be carried to free intercellular space. From the free intercellular space it reaches towards the substomatal space, and from there it is carried to stomata, and through stoma water will be given outside. Hope you got the pathway of water. Now what changes takes place, or what are the forces behind that we will see. So you know, absorption by root already you have studied by means of endoosmosis or by means of active transport. Water and minerals are carried from soil towards the root. All those things last chapter we have studied, so no need in detail about that. So from root it is carried by means of xylem, that also we have studied. Through xylem the water will be carried by cell to cell osmosis, by means of adhesion, by means of capillary force, by means of capillary force, all those things we have studied. Transpiration, pull and all, water will be carried through xylem towards the leaf. So that cell to cell osmosis or imbibition is responsible for carrying of water from xylem towards leaves. So imbibition is there. After that, in leaves, when it reaches towards a smooth spongy mesophyll cell, here this part, when it reaches towards this part, you can see that water will be in the form of certain film like form only. It is not in the form of water vapor, it's in film form, where the water is utilized by these mesophyll cells for the process of photosynthesis. And after using it for photosynthesis, the remaining water will be converted to water vapor by means of evaporation, and it is carried in the form of water vapor towards the intercellular space, and from there it is carried to substomatal space in the form of vapor. So evaporation is taking place. Evaporation of water is taking place along with the process of photosynthesis. Then after that it is carried to substomatal space, and from there it is carried to stomata by means of diffusion. What is diffusion? From a highly concentrated region to low concentrated region the water is moving, isn't it? So from here it will be, if it is too much, what happens? It will be carried towards the stomata and it will be given out through stoma part of stomata. Clear about the pathway and what all forces are involved. Here cell to cell osmosis will be there. Then after evaporation, imbibition will be there, diffusion will be there. So along with that, osmosis also will help in diffusion of water from the substomata space towards the stomata, and through stoma it will be given outside. Got it? Structure of leaf, internal structure of leaf, and how water is transported from root towards leaf during the process of transpiration. Hope you got it. Once again, I'll just explain about the structure of leaf. If you take the anatomy or internal structure of leaf, you can see that these are the full parts of a leaf. Outer part you call it as outer epidermis. Then comes a closely packed cell. Sometimes diagram will be given to you. You will be asked to label the part. So if you see cells without any intercellular space, that will be palisade mesophyll cell. Just below that we have a free space and cells with a lot of free space in between. Space you call it as intercellular space, space in between the cells, and the cells you call it as spongy mesophyll cell. Mesophyll cells are mainly concerned with photosynthesis. Next chapter you will study in detail about the structure of leaf, and also you will study about photosynthesis. These two are the parts where photosynthesis will take place. So spongy mesophyll cells and palisade mesophyll cells concerned with photosynthesis also. Then the free space seen in between the spongy mesophyll cells, you call it as intercellular space. And again we have the lower epidermis and stomata in between lower epidermis, and the space which is seen just above the stomata, you call it as substomatal space. That's all about the structure of a typical leaf. Diagram also you can go through. In that diagram I think it's clear. You have the cuticle, upper epidermis, palisade mesophyll cell, spongy mesophyll cell, lower epidermis, substomatal space is not mentioned there. Water vapor is shown there, no? Same place you can just add there, substomatal space. Then one black color region you see, there you can write it as stomata. That is the stomata. Through stoma the water is given out. Or in the next diagram you will see, the next page, page number 59, you will see another diagram where you can see all these cells clearly. An arrow mark is also given there where the water is moving. Xylem cells, do you see the xylem cells? So do one thing, label it as 1. Xylem vessels are shown there. Label it as 1 there in xylem cells. So xylem cells 1. Then from there, water will be carried towards the mesophyll cell. I think mesophyll cells, palisade and spongy mesophyll cells, you can see. Palisade cell a bit elongated, one spongy cells with a lot of intercellular space. So you can label it there, spongy mesophyll cell, and mark it as 2. Then comes the intercellular space. So mark it as 3. Intercellular space is already given there. Mark it as 3. Then evaporation of water takes place and substomatal space is mentioned. Substomatal space, mark it as 4. Then stomata is shown there and water is given out through stoma, mark it as 5. So you got the pathway: xylem, spongy mesophyll cell, intercellular space, substomatal space, then comes the stomata or stoma. This is the pathway of water. And what are the different factors which influence movement of water from xylem through stomata, or which favors the process of transpiration? That is, imbibition will be there. Just diagram given below. Imbibition is a factor, evaporation is a factor, diffusion will be there, osmosis will be there. So these are all the factors which favor the process of transpiration. Clear about the structure of a leaf and how water is transported from xylem through leaves. Yes. Now about the mechanism of transpiration, how transpiration takes place through stomata. I think in 7th grade you have studied basics of this. So I think you know the structure of stomata also. Page 58, you have the diagram of stomata. What about the shape of So if you are asked to draw the structure of stomata, 2 cells will be there for a stomata. That is, 2 guard cells will be there which are kidney shape. These are the 2 guard cells. So while you draw the diagram, the outer layer, this is outer layer, it is thin walled, and the inner layer will be thick walled. See the diagram in your text also. I think the inner wall, it is represented there as dark one, isn't it? So this one is the inner wall, this one is the outer wall. This free space here, you call it as stoma. These 2 are the guard cells, and surrounding this we have certain cells which you call it as epidermal cells. The entire structure you call it as stomatal apparatus. So if you are asked to draw the diagram of stomatal apparatus, don't think that it's some instrument or anything like that. Last year the question was there, draw the structure of stomatal apparatus. Everyone started drawing about Gannon spectrometer, different apparatus we have, instruments which we are using for different experiments. Okay, so stomatal apparatus means stomata including the nearby cells. That is what you have to draw. Okay, diagram should be familiar, you should study it for drawing also. So what are the different layers here? This layer you call it as outer layer, that is very thin, and the inner layer, that is thick inner layer. Better to write it thin outer layer, then thick inner layer, then again these 2 cells you call it as guard cells, then nearby epidermal cells. That's all. And this opening through which water is given out, this opening you call it as stoma. Okay, so these are the parts of a typical stomatal apparatus. Clear about the diagram. Now about the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. So you know that transpiration is a process by which excess water is given out. So if water is more for a plant, The water which is carried through roots will be carried towards the xylem, and from xylem it reaches towards the leaf. And in leaf we studied now through the spongy mesophyll cell it reaches towards the intercellular space. Initially it is in film form only. Later this water will be used for photosynthesis. Then again it will be converted to vapor form, and in that vapor form it enters into substomatal space, and after that it enters into stomata. So from the nearby cells it enters into stomata. So through the intercellular space and from the nearby cell it enters into stomata. So when this stomata or this guard cell get completely filled with water, it get bulged. Suppose if you are taking a balloon and you are filling it with a water, if it is a heart-shaped balloon, you are filling it with water or you are filling it with air. If it is fully filled with air, it maintain its correct shape, isn't it? That heart shape will be maintained when it is fully filled with air. Same way, this guard cell, it maintain its correct dumbbell shape or it maintain its kidney shape when it is fully filled with the water. So what will happen? This inner walls will move towards inside. And the outer wall anyway it appears like this only, and the inner walls will be curved inside when it gets fully filled with water. So what happens? The gap here will get widened. So water will be given out from this guard cell towards the stoma, which is given out by means of diffusion. Got it? Again, when water level decrease, what happens? This guard cell, the stretching effect of the guard cell will be lost, and what happens? It loses its stretching, and what happens to this inner wall? It comes closer and the stomata will be closed. So when it is fully filled with water, when it need to give out water a lot, this guard cell will get completely filled with water. That means the inner walls of this guard cell will be stretched and it moves towards inside. That means the stoma get open. When this guard cell become turgid, you are remembering about the term what we studied in the last chapter. So when this guard cell are fully filled with water or it becomes turgid, stomata will be open. When it becomes turgid, stoma will be open. And if it become flaccid, what do you mean by flaccidity? It loses its water, and it is when it is not filled with water, it will lose its turgidity, and that condition we call it as cell became flaccid. And in that condition, this inner walls come closer and the stomata will be closed. So at what time stomata will be open and at what time it get closed? You can see that in during daytime, stomata will be opened more compared to night time. So during daytime, we can see that a lot of water will be taken through roots towards the xylem, and from xylem it will be carried towards the guard cell and it becomes turgid, and when it is fully stretched with water, the stomata will get open or the stoma part will get open and water will be given out. And during evening time, what happens? Much amount of water is not lost or photosynthesis is not taking place there, and the stomata will be closed. So that is why we tell that we should plant certain trees or new plants, we plant it during evening time, not at noon time. The reason is that the amount of water absorbed will be more during evening time, but the rate of transpiration will be comparatively less. But if you are planting it early morning also it's okay, but if you are planting it during midday, what happens? The amount of water transpired will be more compared to water taken from the soil. So what happens to the plant? The plant may get wilted. So it is better to plant certain trees or plants in late evening or early morning, not during midday. Got it? One more question. Give reason. It is better to plant trees during evening and not on midday. Give reason. The rate of transpiration will be more during daytime compared to evening, so we should plant a tree. In order to compensate that, we should plant a tree in the evening side. So their absorption only will take place, no transpiration will take place. Got the point? So it is I think it's given there in your textbook in bold letters. Why we should plant trees during late evening than the midday. Okay, so it's a one more question. So that's all about the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. So when guard cell become turgid, stoma will get open and the water will be given out, and when guard cell become flaccid, stoma will get closed and the transpiration will be stopped. So that's all about the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata and about the pathway how water is transported. You should know the diagram too also about stomatal apparatus. I think it's clear for you. Now one more thing, I told you when we saw the structure of leaf, I have drawn the stomata on lower surface only, lower epidermal region only. So what about the number of stomata on the upper surface of a leaf? Suppose this is a leaf, the lower surface has got more number of stomata compared to upper surface, especially in the case of dicot plants. So how will you identify a dicot plant taking the section? If it is a dicot plant, you can see that the lower epidermis will have more number of stomata compared to upper epidermis. That is how you identify between dicot plant and a monocot plant. So the number of stomata for dicot plant will be more on lower surface compared to upper surface. By seeing the plant, the structural external features are different. If you take the internal structure of a leaf, this is a way to identify a dicot leaf and a monocot leaf. So in dicot leaf, we can see the number of stomata on lower surface is more compared to upper surface. So what about how to prove that more number of stomata is present on lower surface of leaf compared to upper surface? So what was the experiment we have seen to show that transpiration occurs in plant? Last day we have discussed about a cobalt chloride paper. When cobalt chloride paper, when it is in dry form, it appears as blue in color, and when it come in contact with moisture, it appears as pink color. That is what we have discussed in last class. So today we will see an experiment setup to prove that more number of stomata is seen on lower surface of leaf compared to upper surface, and more transpiration occurs in lower surface. So for that, what we have to do is same thing itself, just a modified experiment what we have studied in last class. So last class I have shown you how we keep the cobalt chloride paper in a potted plant and all. Isn't it? Same way, there we have taken only one slide. One slide we have taken, or one cobalt chloride paper we just kept on the lower surface of a single leaf only. So here what you have to do is, then one more thing to identify a dicot leaf or monocot leaf is regarding their arrangement of veins. If it is a dicot leaf, what will be the arrangement of veins? Here you will see that the veins are irregularly arranged. If it is a monocot leaf, what will be the nature of veins? It will be like this only, parallel venation. This type of venation you call it as reticulate venation. Okay, reticulate venation. This is how you identify dicot plant and a monocot plant. In the case of monocot plant, the type of venation will be parallel venation. This is parallel venation. This is called the reticular venation. The arrangement of leaf will be irregular in the case of reticulate venation. Arrangement of veins will be along a straight line in the case of parallel venation. So this is reticulate venation, this is parallel venation. In case of dicot leaf, you will see reticulate venation. In case of monocot leaf, you will see parallel venation. That is also one mark question when comes in between the experiment. How did you identify it as dicot leaf or monocot leaf from the diagram? So you will identify it by seeing the venation. Here it is reticulate venation. Okay, so now come back to the experiment setup. Just to see the amount of water given out from lower surface is more compared to outer surface. So what we have to do is, suppose if this is a leaf, here we have the lower surface, here we have the upper surface. So what's the experiment we are doing? Just keep a cobalt chloride paper on lower surface and on the upper surface of leaf. We have to do it on plant itself. So during mid time or after 4 or 5 hours, you can see that that blue colored cobalt chloride paper which we have kept on lower surface turns pink first compared to upper surface. So from that we can prove that more number of stomata is seen on lower surface and more water came from lower surface compared to upper surface. I think the same diagram is given there in your textbook also. So this side I'll just show you. Here we are keeping a slide. We keep a glass slide. This is the lower surface. So we keep a slide, and inside that slide we keep our cobalt chloride paper. So cobalt chloride paper, when it is in dry form, it will be blue in color, isn't it? So this is a cobalt chloride paper which we have kept on lower surface, and one glass slide is pasted just to prevent the contact with atmospheric air. So on one side we have kept it like this. Now coming to the other side, on the upper side also, what we will do, same arrangement itself. So let it be the other side. Here also we do the same. We keep a cobalt chloride paper on the upper surface, and inside that glass slide we have a strip of cobalt chloride paper which is blue in color. So both the side is shown here in the diagram. When you keep the thing, you can keep it together. Suppose this is your leaf. Here you paste, here you keep one cobalt chloride paper. Here you keep one cobalt chloride paper, and just above that cobalt chloride paper, you keep a glass slide and you clip it together in a single leaf itself. Just to see the thing, I have drawn it separately. This is the outer lower epidermis. This is the upper epidermis. So after keeping it for 4 or 5 hours, you can see that this blue paper start turning pink. So in case of a dicot leaf, in lower surface, you see that it turns pink fastly compared to the outermost surface, upper epidermal region. This one is the upper epidermis. This one is the lower epidermal region, lower side of a leaf. This is the upper part of a leaf. So here only 1 or 2 dots you see just started changing to pink color. That's all. But at the same time, you can see that in lower surface, it turned pink more fastly compared to the upper surface. Got it? So the same diagram is given there in your book also. Experiment setup is given there. One leaf was also shown, and you can see that on either side of leaf, you keep cobalt chloride paper which is bluish in color, and if you keep the leaf like this is the lower part, this is the upper part. Lower side and upper side you keep the cobalt chloride paper, and after a few hours you can see the lower side start turning pink fastly compared to upper surface. So from that we came to know that more water was given out from the lower surface compared to outer surface. That means more number of stomata is present on lower surface compared to outer surface. Excuse me. What doubt you can tell me? Just tell me what is your doubt. I've seen you here. Convey your doubts. Is there any doubt, or just you people started playing in between? Huh? You are chatting in between? No answer. So let me continue. Huh? Or you can ask me the doubt after this class or in your group. Okay, if it is there, you can. I'll clear the thing and go. Maybe playing in between, I think. Who is the person? Antonio may be the person, I think. Huh? Okay. Just ask the doubt also. I've seen you have raised the hand and your parent's name is coming here. I can identify the person. So if you have got any doubt, type it. From your mobile, I can see your parents' number. I can't identify the person. What's the name? Rency. Rency Benny Matthew. That's the name shown here. Or you people are playing. Anyway, don't waste the time. So you can raise your doubt through group. Anna, what's your doubt, Anna? I think you can open your audio and just ask your doubt. Audio is open here for you. You see a icon of audio in your mobile also, just stop. Your genuine doubts, if it is there, you can raise it now. Anyway, we'll see it later. Okay, so about structure of stomata, about the mechanism of transpiration, and again we have just seen about the number of stomata seen on upper epidermis and lower epidermis. What about the number of stomata seen on upper epidermis and lower epidermis of a dicot leaf and monocot leaf? In case of dicot leaf, that is the number of stomata will be more on lower surface compared to outer surface. Okay. Tara. Say what about the structure of stomata or regarding the pathway how the water is given out? Which one you want, Trisha? Structure of stomata, is it clear to you? You can open the audio and convey the things, then it will be more easy, I think. Mechanism only. Okay. So do one thing, just see your textbook. With the help of your textbook, I can. Because the diagram, everything I have erased it here. So open your textbook. I think your textbook is there with you. So along with your textbook, I can convey. So about the mechanism of transpiration, structure of a leaf, is it clear to you? About the parts of leaf, anatomy of leaf, parts, is it clear? Okay. So when you see to the diagram in page number 59, you can see the same structure is enlarged and shown there. Yes. So there you see the upper part as epidermis. The next layer you can see it as a mesophyll cell. First layer, that is about the palisade mesophyll cell, which are very closely packed cell. Then below that you will see loosely packed cells, that is about the spongy mesophyll cell. Very near to that you can see the xylem vessels also. Then substomatal space, stomata. I think those parts are clear for you. Regarding the mechanism of carrying water from soil, water will be carried through roots. From root it will be carried towards xylem. From xylem it will be carried through small veins towards the leaf. And when it reaches the leaf, you can see the xylem vessel is there, isn't it? That means it is just transporting water from the xylem vessel towards leaf. So when it reaches towards the leaf, from that xylem vessel, you can see some arrow marks are shown towards the palisade mesophyll as well as the spongy mesophyll region. Do you see it? So water from xylem will be carried towards the spongy mesophyll region, and from there it will be carried towards the substomatal space. Along with the intercellular space, from the intercellular space it get carried towards the substomatal space, and from there it is carried to outside through stomata or through stoma. Is it clear? That's a pathway. Now about the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata, or how the stomata help in regulation of giving out water. That is, just see the diagram given in page number 58. You see the diagram of stomata there. So the thing. So in that diagram, you can see the outer each stomatal apparatus. It is composed of two guard cells, and in that guard cell, the outer part is thin, inner part is thick, and surrounding nearby cells you can see epidermal cells. That's about the structure of a typical stomata, which is seen on lower surface of leaf. Then what about how water is given out through the stomata? When plant has got excess amount of water, that need not want that much water for photosynthesis. Only 1% of water taken by plant will be utilized by plant for photosynthesis. The remaining water will be given out through transpiration. So for that process, we need the help of stomata. So what will happen here is water what is not needed will be carried towards the stomatal region, and it get filled in stoma cells, or it get filled in that guard cells. That kidney shaped cells will get fully filled with water. And when the guard cell is fully filled with water means what? It becomes turgid. Last class we have studied about what is turgidity, what is flaccidity and all. So those guard cells which are kidney shaped or bean shaped, it get fully filled with water and it becomes turgid. It becomes turgid means what? The inner walls will move apart, or it will be stretched backwards. As I told you, in a heart-shaped balloon, you are blowing air, and when you blow air completely, it makes it final shape, isn't it? Completely, it makes that correct heart shape. Suppose if you are giving out a lot of air from that balloon, what happens to that? It loses its turgidity and it becomes flaccid. That means it becomes very soft, and it will not maintain that correct shape also. Same way, in case of guard cell, what happens when it takes water by means of osmosis, it becomes turgid. That means it becomes fully filled with water and it becomes turgid. So the inner walls will move backward. So when it moves backward, what happens to that opening? See, suppose this is your guard cell. This is here, this is one guard cell, this is another guard cell. This is the inner layer. So when it is fully filled with water, what happens? It maintains its correct shape. So it will move apart. It will be pulled backward. So what happens to this gap here? Stoma will get opened. Then when it loses its water, what happens? These walls loses its turgidity and it comes closer. It's closed together, and then the stoma will be closed. So no more water will be given out. Again, when this guard cell get fully filled with water, what happens? It will move backward. The inner walls move backward. So what happens to the stoma? It get open. Water will be given out. Again, when it loses its turgidity, it becomes flaccid, and so the inner wall comes forward, and that part becomes closed, or stoma becomes closed, and no more water will be given out. Got it? So when guard cell become turgid, stoma will be open, and when guard cell become flaccid, the stoma will be closed. Hope you got the thing. Mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. I think remaining part, if you read, you will get. Okay, thank you, Trisha. Then I think just we have seen, after that we have moved to the experiment which is modified, that is about the cobalt chloride paper and upper epidermis and lower epidermis. We have kept the cobalt chloride paper and we have seen the experiment, and we saw the upper surface will have less number of stomata, and the lower epidermis has got more number of stomata, and you can identify it as dicot plant and monocot plant by two means. One is number of stomata will be more in dicot leaf, and also the type of venation. Here you can see this type of venation, you call it as reticulate venation. Most of the trees that you see around you is of reticulate venation. Then again, monocot plant means it will have parallel venation. In case of palms, arecanut, coconut, plantain, all those has got parallel venation. You can see the veins are seen parallel there. But in case of mango, then which are the familiar trees? Most of the familiar trees are teak, then what else? Dua plant, all those, almost all the plants which you see around you has got reticulate venation, where the number of stomata will be more on lower surface compared to outer surface. Okay, so I think by reading the next part you can get the remaining part. Little bit more now about the factors which affect the rate of transpiration, or that I think it's almost time. It's 12 o'clock. So we'll see those factors which affect transpiration, and also what about the modification seen in plants or adaptation seen in plants to favor the process of transpiration, and all we'll see later. So what all things we have discussed now? Mainly about structure of leaf, internal structure of leaf, then mechanism of transpiration, about the structure of stomatal apparatus. I think that only the diagram of stomatal apparatus you need to draw and study. The other diagram will be given to you. You need to label the thing. And pathway of water, that is from xylem vessel, it is carried towards the spongy mesophyll cell. From spongy mesophyll cell, it get carried to intercellular space. From intercellular space, it get carried to substomatal space, and from there to stomata. That's a pathway. You'll be asked to write the following terms in correct logical sequence. Clear? So I think all these you can read and get it. That's all for today. One more thing is you can do the exercise questions. Most of the content I have gone through. So you can do your exercise, start doing your exercise questions. By next class, I'll complete this chapter, and next Tuesday till mechanism of stomatal transpiration, you will have a test paper by 2 o'clock. Okay, one word test only. First session of this chapter, you can study it well, and after that by 2 o'clock get ready for the test paper, same like last Tuesday. Okay, so again, if you have got any doubt, it's time for you to clear your doubts. You can raise your hands and tell me your doubts. 2 or 3 minutes, I'll give you full your doubts. Classes available only through WebEx from today onwards. So please don't go from your class in between. Open your audio and give the doubts. Then it will be more easy for you than typing the thing. Audio is open here for you. You can open your audio and convey your doubts. Nothing is written. Josnida. Josnida. That's a name what we see here. From your parents' name, I can't identify you people. So just convey your name and you can raise your questions now. Or come back. From WebEx, you come back. Huh? Helena. Helena, what's your doubt? Tensi Charlie. Better I'll study your mother's name. However, I am managing with your names. So you people started fighting with me with your mother's name also now. Anyway, whatever be the name, just convey your doubts. Or you move out from WebEx, come to your WhatsApp group and convey your message. Within 5 or 10 minutes, if you are ready to convey your doubts in WhatsApp group, I'll read it and clear your doubts. Okay, 5 or 10 minutes I'll give you. Log out from WebEx or shift to your WhatsApp number and then give me a text message or voice message in your 10th and 10th B group. So that also I can convey. So I think you are not conveying anything. So it's time for 9th grade class. Anything if it is there, you can convey it to me through your WhatsApp group. Okay. So thank you all for listening me for 1 hour. Thanks a lot. Thank you.